Hello, listener. The week of this record, something pretty crazy happened in the country, and we thought it was important that we address it. As we know, the political climate out there is pretty crazy. We've been pretty open about our opinions on some things. And while we say a lot of stupid stuff, we never mean it with any ill intent. But like I said, something really crazy happened this weekend, and that was that all three of the 5DR boys went to the theater and watched the same movie in the span of 3 days, and that movie was Longlegs. And I'm joined by those two guys that, we just whizzed right by each other. I went Friday. Kron, you went Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, you went Sunday. And what we thought we would do is we would address the topic like adults, like rational adults, and just bridge the gap and have a rational conversation.
I just think right up front, I don't think anybody was tall enough in this movie to warrant the title.
Okay.
Nick Cage.
Coming out negative right off the gate.
He's not that tall, dude. He's not that tall.
How tall is Nick Cage?
He's like 6'1", would be my guess.
That's tall.
Yeah.
Bones is taller, dude.
Well, yeah, I'm bigger than Nick Cage. So.
We've seen taller people.
Yeah.
Well, I've never seen Nick Cage's dick.
I don't call this guy Long Bones.
Long legs and tall have nothing to do with dick, all right? I'm sure there's some 7-foot dudes out there with short dicks, and we know for a fact there's short dudes with huge Johnsons. So
that's correct.
And then there's some of us that are just proportional Da Vinci representations. It's fine.
I think that was for the time.
Yeah, dicks have gotten bigger, dude.
I think dicks have gotten bigger.
Dicks are going up.
Okay. Guess you guys got enough nutrition, you know? It was barbaric to have a big Johnson back then.
Uncouth.
Yeah, I think it was just a matter of difficulty. It was a little easier to just chip away a little wiener. That's why the boobs also weren't very big. They were like, oh, what's pretty is like little tits, little dicks.
I think that one, whoever did Venus de Milo was onto the right thing. Like, let's stop doing arms and legs.
Yeah, who gives a fuck?
Start focusing on boobs and butts already.
I think the real breakthrough was the use of negative space. First guy to do, holes.
Mm-hmm.
Finally. All right, Longlegs. Jesus Christ.
Wasting time on what we all planned to be a very short little thing.
Larry Flint.
The whole point of this was to be, hey, let's be topical for once. All right, Longlegs. A lot of hype around this bad boy. Osgood Perkins. Dan, you went to the Alamo, right?
Yeah.
Did they show
Penny Smasher?
Did they show clips of Quigley, the Gary Busey turns into a dog movie starring Osgood Perkins? It took me way too long to figure out why the fuck they were showing that. He is related to the Psycho himself, right? Son of or
Busey
No, Perkins is the son of the guy from Psycho.
Anthony Perkins, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I call him Tony, but
okay,
I
whatever.
call him Oz.
Well, that's the son.
What's the other son's
You wouldn't
name?
call Anthony Perkins Oz. That'd be weird.
He played the Wizard of Oz.
He was a wizard in that role.
He's the voice and he's the big head.
Yeah, when he was 5 years old.
He auditioned. He didn't get it.
And this is early film Wizard of Oz, so he was 5 and he just spoke into a really, really long tube.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 400 feet long. What'd you guys think of Longlegs, huh?
Eh.
Listener Dan shrugged, then remembered this is an audio medium.
I thought it was pretty good. I like it had some good stuff in there.
Good stuff. All right, you just think it was hyped too much, maybe?
No, I think the marketing and stuff did well. It got people into the theater. I think it had 22 million last weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, I do feel like the trailer sets it up one way that's not necessarily what the movie ends up being.
Now, he did say that Silence of the Lambs was to get everybody in the seat, and then he wanted to make a left turn. So he did what he said he was going to do.
Now, I'm not in marketing. Obviously, the show has no listeners.
Losing listeners, yes.
Yeah. But I would scratch my head at this movie. Like, how do I market this? I think the little video that they released that this is the actress's real heartbeat the first time she saw Nick Cage, and like I don't really go for that. I'm also not a fan of the night vision theater reaction clips.
Yeah. Well, and she could just have like an arrhythmia too.
She needs to get an Apple Watch.
You know, she might be like just sitting still 140, and she got up to 160 when she saw Nick Cage.
Well, she was just, it was Nick Cage, and she's like, oh shit, it's Nick Cage.
The following sound is Jason Alexander's glucometer while on the set of Seinfeld. Holy shit, dude. He goes into ketoacidosis. Kron, your first time in the theater for a while.
Yeah, it had been maybe over a year since I saw a movie in the theater.
How'd
Went
it feel?
to a AMC dine-in.
What'd you order?
One Coca-Cola on my way through the door. That was it.
Did the lady go with you?
No, it was just me. There was a weird guy at the end of the movie who, like, he was walking in front of me and he turned around and said, "How'd you like the movie?" And I said, "Me?" He said, "Yeah." And I was like, I thought it was all right. And he was like, "You know what? It really reminded me of this movie, The Cure." Or I think that's what he said. Or what's the one on Criterion? There's like a horror movie.
Cure.
That
He was like,
sounds
it reminded
familiar.
me of Cure. And then I was like, oh yeah. I was like, I've heard of that movie. And then he instantly turned around while I was mid-sentence, and the people behind me, he was like, "Hey, how'd you like the movie?" And they said something, and then he was like, "It reminded me a lot of this movie called The Cure."
See, I was on
like,
this
oh,
guy's
all right.
side for a second.
Yeah, like this guy's just got one.
Yeah, I work with somebody who's absolutely notorious for walking up, asking you a question, and turning around mid-response. Like, as soon as they identify that it's not the answer that they want, they just bolt. Drives me crazy.
I think he was just guerrilla marketing for Criterion's release of The Cure.
But, I mean, you could argue, you know, you're sitting in a theater for 2 hours with somebody. You should be able to have a little conversation with them.
Yeah, I think it's all right. Like, if
Yeah.
you just... But I wouldn't suggest walking away mid-sentence. Criterion Dan is holding up his copy of Cure. I guess it's just Cure. Bones, edit out every time I said the.
Sorry. This is a
Edit.
bonus supplemental episode. There's zero editing.
Edit in the guy from The Cure just making a Cure sound.
Dan, what'd you think about that? Well, let me rephrase that. Dan,
Yeah.
about 20 years ago,
Jesus.
I'm at your apartment, and you had just recently put up a new poster. I went, "Who the fuck is that?" And you said, "It's the guy from T-Rex." I said, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And you were like, "Bang a gong? Cheapster?" I was like, "I have no fucking idea what you're talking about." Then I played Bang a Gong, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this guy." So, did you know that T-Rex was had some connective tissue to this movie? Were you pleasantly surprised?
I was pleasantly surprised, but they did play the Bang a Gong like a late night
70s showcase sort of thing.
So I was like, oh, T-Rex must have, well, it's either featured in the movie or something to do with the movie. And yeah, it started off with a quote from T-Rex. I think they featured Planet Queen as well. But yeah, it's about time.
Dan, do you remember about 20 years ago, I came over to your apartment and I was like, what the hell is this thing? And you were like, I'm sewing real human hair into this doll's head.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the Sibian. We had a lot of fun with that.
Mm-hmm.
It was big enough that both of you could fit on it.
I was trying to get it big enough for everybody. And then I blew the Transformer.
I'm taller than Nick Cage, so that's tough. That's a big Sibian.
You think a lot of like podcast movie dudes are going to pretend like they know who Mark Boland is now?
Also, Bones, you didn't need to insist on sitting long ways on it. You're meant to straddle it like a saddle.
Yeah, but an orgasm is truly a full body experience, Kron.
I guess. I think we all three could have fit if you did it the right way.
I was really trying to get you guys to sit on top of me.
Yeah. I mean, that thing's pretty powerful, so.
I said blew the Transformer. Got charged for that shit.
Okay, we should really talk about Longlegs.
I can talk about my biggest issue with this movie.
Okay. I want to be nice to the movie and make sure that we talk like equally as nice. So I would say for the most part we've been polite. So go ahead.
All right. Spoilies for Longlegs. So if you haven't seen it, turn this off. I think my biggest issue is like just that it has two different tones, right? The first 30 to 45 minutes is like basically a traditional serial killer kind of setup. I'd say with a little twist of like he's never at the crime scene, but still it kind of follows the beats that you would expect. And then when it switches to like a paranormal thing, it just seems like it leaves both halves a little like underdone. They're not really fully fleshed out in either direction. And then I feel like there's a part of me where it's like if it was just a serial killer thing, I feel like I could accept almost no motive for the killer, right? Like he's just a sick person, blah, 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 whatever. But once you bring in all the paranormal stuff, then it turns into like, why is he even killing these people? Like just because he likes Satan? Is that it? And why even draw a shape with the birthdays on like this big chart? It's just a symbol. Like it seems like there should be more to why is all of this happening?
You said the word paranormal a lot. Did you mean puppet?
Well, I mean, there is a puppet in here.
Okay.
I don't know. What would you call like the powers of Satan? Is that not paranormal?
Supernatural?
Supernatural. All right, let's go with supernatural.
A way of life?
But it's like, why even do all this stuff? Like, are you just killing people because the devil? That's it?
Can I give you my biggest hiccup that I think connects to yours, and then potentially sort of as a counter argument? So I think that there's quite a bit of supernatural stuff in the beginning, like her ability to kind of sense things. The supernatural element of the movie, I don't mind. I think it actually heightens it a little bit, because on top of, all right, this is a serial killer, what's the motive in a rational sense? it was also interesting to know, all right, from a supernatural perspective, what is going on. My issue with it is the connection of our main character to the overall story. Like, once I realized that the girl from the beginning was our FBI agent, that really upset me. I hate when something is supposed to be on a large scale, but I know from storytelling, like you want to have it connected.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then as the phone calls with the mother get a little bit creepier and creepier, and they're definitely guiding you and hinting you to prepare you for that reveal. That sort of bummed me out. I wish there was a way that she had some supernatural just connection to the supernatural element, but wasn't, biologically connected to this thing, or at least it became later connected. So I think one of the creepiest parts of the movie is when she's at her house very early in the investigation and she's hearing noises and she goes out and then she sees a figure and then finds the envelope.
Yeah.
And I'm going to butcher it, but I thought it was a funny, evil line of, like, I'll cut off her hanging milk tits or something. Mm-hmm. And I thought, okay, that's the way that he's going to get in, is he's going to start fucking with the mom to fuck with her. But in terms of the tone thing, like, I think there was enough supernatural stuff for me. I think towards the end, once it's just revealed like how much she's connected to it, I then feel like the investigation stuff just falls away. Like, her just randomly, like, how lucky that he was that she was in the FBI. Like, that's all part of his plan, I guess. It just seems to stem so much. It's like so derivative now of the Dark Knight Spectre, or Skyfall. Like, the plan was to get caught all along,
right? Sort
of thing. That I'm just I dislike that, especially in a movie that I was like so into. The framing changes, the way they introduced Cage. I thought maybe we were gonna split and go with Cage a little bit more when we saw him at the hardware store.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is fucking cool. Which is one of the things I really liked about Barbarian. Like, when they switch and they follow the dude back in his early days. Like, all right, that's great. That I'm all for keeping them hidden a little bit in your first act. Then let's see what's going on with them, and then third act, bring them together or see why they connect. But I think overall, I would give it a 4 if I'm giving it a rating. I mean, I do think there's a lot of originality in it. It's just that one thread that bugs me. Dan? How
early did you guys figure out that she was the girl at the beginning? Did that come to you?
I guess when the movie told me for certain.
Okay. Because whenever they went where they find the doll, I was like, that's not the same house. I was like, she's the girl from the beginning. So I guess I expected that. I said that out loud in the theater too, and everyone was like, oh. But I guess I caught on pretty quick to that, so I don't know. Maybe it's a little different for me.
I feel like the thing that I did maybe put together earlier was like that part where she's about to go downstairs and that like roach crawls out of the floor or whatever. I was like, I wonder if that dude is like living under their house or something.
Oh, yes. That was my, like, please don't that he's there. No. And then I was just basically on eggshells until, like, the reveal of the mother.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like that. There's good stuff here. He said originality. I don't know. I wish they would explain the balls a little more, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yes. See, I feel like that's kind of what I was getting at. It's like once you bring in a bunch of supernatural stuff, if you just leave it without any motive or explanation, like Nick Cage's character clearly has some kind of power, like that he's gotten from the devil, I suppose. But it's like once you bring all that in, it's like, well, how the hell does any of that shit work? Like what? How do the balls function? Why is he doing any of the things he does?
I have to wonder if that stuff is difficult to manage and try to explain if you're trying to connect your main character to this overall thing. Because then if you explained all of that stuff, would we be then having the opposite conversation of, well, so she was the daughter, she was the girl? And I feel like it's more important to the story for those emotional connections versus an explanation of supernatural elements. Like what even was the guy that they caught in the beginning? Was he just a completely separate killer?
I think so.
That was to show that she had like something was talking to her, I
but
guess, or
that
telling
actor,
her.
I think, is like, it's just a quick shot of him. I feel like he's a big like working actor, and I wonder if a bunch of stuff was cut from that.
Yeah, I guess I just thought that was like the thing where they figured out, oh, this lady has some sort of, mental ability that we can possibly use further in the FBI. But it was just because she had that thing of like, it's that house, that's the guy.
Yeah. And I want to shout out George, who shares my opinion. I think that this is definitely more Manhunter than Silence of the Lambs.
Oh yeah.
But I get from a marketing perspective, right? One of them won like 5 Oscars. The other one is
like a cult kind of thing almost. Yeah.
I think I've listened to a few interviews with Oz there, and he's like, yeah, it's just a guy. It's about the girl. He's like, the serial killer is just to pull you in. And he's like, the serial killer is just a fucking lame dude who was into glam rock that got into Satan. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I could see that too.
See, I think I read
but you're
that
also
quote.
Bringing shit up. Like,
yeah. Well, I read that quote too, but he has some kind of power though.
Like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I kind of want to dip into that, buddy.
If he was just going out like stabbing people or something, then I would be like, yeah, like it makes sense to say, oh, he's just some lame guy who, like believes in the power of Satan. But he has like balls that control people. I mean, that's something.
Yeah, if you're really into like Manhunter, Silence of the Lambs, and Phantasm, and puppets, this is right up your alley.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it had a little bit of something for each one of us.
What are some other like really strong things that stood out to you, or things that you enjoyed, whether it's a sequence or an element of it?
I think the movie looks really, really good. Whatever house they found for that FBI chick to live in, like I want to live in that place. It looks awesome. And I do think the acting is really strong. I read some stuff where people were like kind of mixed on Nicolas Cage, but I thought he crushed the role. I thought the one thing I keep thinking about seeing this in the theater is the scene when he's in the car and he starts like singing that song.
Yeah.
At like the very beginning of it, like there were a few chuckles in the crowd, and then it goes on like just long enough to where everybody's like, oh shit, this is weird. Like it just kind of like that scene had this instant like little laugh moment, and then it gets like a little bit more unhinged and unhinged and unhinged, and then everybody like nobody's laughing at the end of it,
Yeah, that's Planet Queen.
So I thought that was probably the most effective scene that I keep thinking about.
Dan?
I think he does a wonderful job of letting the audience do the work here, which I'm a super big fan of. His timeline, you just kind of got to figure out, all right, okay, like this is where we're at. Okay, this was before. All right. I mean, I think he does do a little thing for when Nick Cage is coming in. I think the screen goes smaller a little bit when you're going in with him. But I really enjoyed that. It looks great. I don't see how people are calling this like the scariest movie. I didn't think it was that scary. No jump scares or anything.
Was there anything that creeped you out though? Like that was effective for you? I mean, you balls of steel, so it's tough.
Not really, man. I did like the very beginning shot where they just show his mouth. I thought that was a really good decision.
Yeah.
Not like his whole face. I think that's pretty creepy.
I think her FBI debrief, like post shooting with the creepy slides.
Oh, yeah.
That was really effective at just like, all right, you've already had like a creepy house covered in plastic and a shooting. And, you know, we have seen Nicolas Cage 30 years ago. But that thing, I think, really helped dial in the tone going forward. And I thought, I would say a slight issue, her boss at the FBI, ADR like every other line, and it was just off in the sound mix. And at first I thought, is this a choice? But it was just so different. And then I realized, like, okay, the spacing that's necessary for like a lot of this framing, like there's some mirrored framing with him sitting in his office underneath a picture of Clinton, and then later there's a really great sequence with him sitting in front of a TV, and they're watching like a recording from Cage's first interview. And if you notice, like Cage does this thing where he's like, and you'll be there, and you'll be there, and you'll be there. And he seems to be looking exactly where they'll be sitting. And when they pause that television, and then they also frame the boss sitting underneath it. But I thought the end sequence with the boss and his wife when they were under the control was really good.
Why didn't you shoot the doll first?
Why didn't she go try to stop the killing of that woman in the kitchen?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Shoot the doll first, and control's gone.
I don't know. Is there something about her becoming him? Like he's trying to pass it on to her?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I think it's, just she wanted her kid to live, and he helped her out. Or she helped him out. I thought that was a great performance, though. The mom was pretty creepy.
I thought the mom was good. It kind of gave me like Carrie's mom vibes from Carrie.
I think it's the weakest to me.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought the shotgun of the lady that drives her there was pretty brutal.
That was pretty brutal. When she reveals through the rear glass of the car.
Oh yeah.
That's probably the most like jump scary thing. Because he got it framed in a way where you're definitely looking at the FBI agent. So when she comes from behind the car, it's pretty good. Okay. If you sat through this and you haven't seen it, would we recommend people go see this to the theater? I will tell you, I think people should, because this is the type of movie that I would like to see more often.
Yeah, I definitely think I would recommend people go check this thing out. Like, I mean, I guess I have my issues with it, but overall, like, I had a good time watching it. You know, I thought it was interesting. I thought it was like thought provoking, and like you said, it's like a non-big budget movie that's making some waves. So yeah, I'm hoping like let's get some more mid-budget movies out there from interesting, creative people.
I would say, yeah, go watch it. I'm at a 3.5. I need to watch it again. I want to do a rewatch. I think it's working, dude. 70-year-old couple next to me and did not shut up. Every time we went to the mother's house, this old lady's like, gosh, I can't believe how much of a mess this place is. Every time.
You mean it's working that people are going to see it? Like it's getting word of mouth and yeah.
Because we got in there and I was like, what the fuck? And then halfway through, she looks at her husband and is like, is that Nicolas Cage? Just like, where were you?
He didn't read it?
Yeah.
It's like 3 or 4 times because he's got a producer credit on it too.
I mean, they might just show up to the theater every Saturday and be like, what's playing?
I sat way too close.
Oh, you did
I couldn't.
First 2 rows?
Yeah, I could not get in. Dan, you and I were talking about like the difficulty of the Alamo app for some reason. So I was like, I'm just going to the theater. I'm just going and I'll see. And the only space, because they do that 2-seat rule. Like if there's 3, you can't take the one in the middle, whatever. And there were only singles in the 3rd and 4th row. And I was like, fuck, all right, maybe I'll try it. And I even asked the guy too. I was like, he's like, I don't think it's that bad. He's like, first row is too much. All right. I said, if it sucks, can I come back? And he's like, yeah. So I get in there and I kind of lean back and I'm like, I think this will be okay. But the pre-show looked a little too much. And then these 2 guys came in and I guess they had purchased the tickets next to me. And they were like, sorry, man, these are the only seats available. I was like, that's fine. That's how it works. And then they turned around and they're like, there's some open seats back there though. So maybe we can switch. And then the waiter comes by or whatever and checks their seats, checks your phone for your seat number. And they're like, hey, there's nobody back there. Can we move? And the guy's like, well, the movie hasn't started yet. Those are probably taken.
Nice try, buddy.
Yeah. And they were like, well, if they don't show up, are we allowed to move? And the waiter was like, I tell you what, if like after half an hour you need to move and there's an open space, I'll let you move. And I'm like, okay. But they were too busy eating.
Stuffing that.
Because I didn't have an old woman making comments. I just had.
I feel like everybody in my theater was pretty quiet. I mean, there was like some laughter and some like, I don't know, like little tiny talking after something crazy happened, but
yeah,
it wasn't like constant in any direction. So,
Kron, what are you on this?
I think I would be a 3.5 on this as well. Like I said, there's a lot to like. I feel like both halves of the movie feel a little underdone. It's like the movie should be celebrated because it's spinning so many plates. But then if you take a step back, all those plates are like 3 inches off the ground. So it's kind of like impressive in one way, not impressive in another. But yeah, 3.5 seems fair. There's more to enjoy than to not enjoy. So there you go.
Say, keep giving him money. I guess he's already knocked out 2 more movies with the same crew, so not of Longlegs. I think they're different. I think he's got a Stephen King one.
Oh yeah, I think I did hear he was doing a Stephen King thing.
And then another Canadian one, I guess.
Is he working with, is it Cage with him again?
No.
Okay. All right, well, that's a half-hour little quick chat. We're going to try to get this out. You'll have just listened to the Gauntlet episode. Keep a lookout for that Showgirls 2 episode that's upcoming. Oh, baby, what a doozy.
And somehow track down and watch Showgirls 2.
If you need it, let me know.
You simply must.
Yes. But for Laundry Dan, for Kron Howard, I am Bones, and crash and burn.
Crash and burn.